Okay, ones, I want to talk to you a little bit about your environment and your worldview. Let's look at arrows. These arrows are lines through the diagram of the Enneagram. That's what they're called, arrows. They're lines that show how you pick up certain flavors of other styles. Here, the 1 is pointing to the 7 and down to the 4. And what it shows you here is how you handle stress and relaxed conditions, okay? So if you look at here of how you handle relaxed conditions, what's interesting here is you pick up some of the gold or the high side of a 7. You know, you could be much more spontaneous and playful, self-accepting. It's fun to be around a 1 that is relaxed and is enjoying life. On the other hand, when things are very stressful, usually you'll go down to a 4, and the inner critic really picks up a lot more, become a lot more depressed, feeling unlovable, the shadow side of a 4. Now that's what you'll read in most Enneagram material. But if you keep going, you'll notice that you actually pick up the high side and the low side of each as well. Funny enough, under relaxed conditions, you can still, when you're not doing so well on the inside, you can become excessive and restless like a 7, like me. On the other hand, you can pick up the gold of a 4 under stressful situations. So you can enter into stress and really pick up the high side of this personality, being much more creative and inspirational, which means that your circumstances, that your environment doesn't just dictate how you're doing. It's your worldview. It's what you're really believing down in your heart that is fueling so many times. The circumstances affect it, no doubt about it. But what's really fueling you is something deeper. Let's look at your childhood and how you would have earned this belief system. Well, Mary Poppins is a good example of practically perfect in every way. Here she is, though, with a little bit of, imperfection on her nose and cheeks from the smudge of the chimneys, I guess, in London. Ones, as a child, they really noticed when they were rewarded for being a good boy or a good girl. Or it could have been that grew up in a really difficult situation to where they had to be a good boy or good girl because there was so much bad around them, and that's the way they survived. Well, this reward and punishment system, it affects all of us, but ones especially took it in almost more as an identity and absorbed it. And in one sense, you have the natural ability to fix things that are broken and like doing that, restoring what is broken. But of course, in this world, in a broken world, it just goes on and on and on and on. It also establishes this inner critic because there's also brokenness inside of you that sometimes seems to go on and on and on and on. It's an inner critic. You think about it, what is the worldview as a child? There's something along the lines for most ones they would say that I must do what is right. I might be the only one that stands up to do what is right, but I must do what is right, which is tremendous pressure upon a child when you think about it. The question you want to ask yourself is, how do you handle this inner critic, this child that always is worried about being bad, is always worried about being off, always worried about not getting it right? How do you handle that? Here you are as an adult, and many times you can look at the inside of yourself and say, I just need to quit thinking. The inner courtroom is driving me nuts. Well, don't you see there's a worldview here? And there is a way to handle this and to get that worldview uprooted out of you, but you have to let it be uprooted by something greater than you. And we'll talk about that in a minute.